Okay, for this video we will be using a reference image to draft and trace over the top of. The reference image comes from Landscape Graphics book, and I've taken the PDF and converted one of the pages into a PNG. So just to note, we're going to use the command picture, and that particular command in Rhino, again, picture requires an image file, and so I have a PNG and I've named it Evergreens because it is the Evergreens page from Landscape Graphics. What I'm doing, it asked me to just put another corner. I'm just going to make it approximately the size I want. I'll probably make it as similar to the trees to the left. I'm going to go ahead and move this a little bit. I kind of want it about that size. We're going to do a quick scale operation. If there were a plan and you have a little graphic scale, you could actually do this same process but use the graphic scale to make your plan to full size. So you would have an idea about how to convert sort of a plan drawing into that's a sketch into the computer. So real quick, I'm going to go ahead and use Polyline, and I'm going to take a polyline across this tree, and I sort of missed the center, but I'm just going to move it down to here. And when you have an image, you got to be really careful. Like if I push here, it's going to grab the image, and if I do, oops, I like do that kind of thing. You got to be really careful, especially in this early bit of operation while you're trying to scale it. But for now, I need to be able to select it, so I'm going to leave it as it is, but just a warning to be very careful. What I want to do is, if I measure this and I say DI, which is a distance, I'm going to use my OSNAP to here. This is about 0.72 feet. So I think I'm going to make this tree a little bit larger. So I'm going to hit scale, and I'm going to go ahead and choose my curve there. I can choose anywhere on this image, so I just choose the middle and hit enter. And what I'm going to do is use the scale command. It asks me for a base point. My base point is going to be the end point of this line, and then I will use this. You could, if you wanted it twice as large, you could hit 2. If you want it half as large, you could hit 0.5. But in this case, I want to take this measurement that I just figured out was 18.2, and I want to make it some exact number. And I'm going to go ahead and choose 24 just for fun here. And you notice that when I typed in 2, it automatically showed you what that's going to be like. If it was 2 feet instead of 24 feet, I type 4, it goes back to the appropriate size. I don't need to put my cursor anywhere. It's going to take that same distance and make it from 18.72 to 24 feet. So here we are, and you can always, it's a good idea to check. You've done it well, but just to always check and see, okay, that was actually 24. So good job. And now we're going to begin our drafting, and so as a result of that, I want to make sure that I have this image where I can't accidentally move it out of the way. And so first thing I'm going to do is select it, and then I'm going to put it on. And if you don't have this layer, oftentimes, when we have some kind of external file or image, I always put it on the X layer, so X_image. So I'll put it on that layer, and then that's going to get locked. Obviously, if I want to see it, I'd keep it on. If I don't want to see it, I can turn it off. But you have that in position, and it can't be accidentally moved or scaled or erased, which is also kind of bad. So that's our image setup for now. Looking at this drawing, this is obviously a hand drawing, and you can see that there's at least 3 different line types within this tree, and this is supposed to be a kind of conifer. It's triangular in nature, and having some thick lines going through the drawing, and then there's another kind of line weight, secondary line weight, and some of these lines actually go all the way through. You kind of have to trace these and think about where they go. This one looks like it doesn't go all the way through, but then this one maybe does, and then this one also seems to go through as well. So it's not even on either side. In some cases, there's only one line coming in, it doesn't come out the other side, and that is part of creating the character of the tree. So we're going to try to reproduce that a little bit. Now, I'm not going to do the whole tree because it might take a few minutes. But if I were to just say, you know what, I like it exactly like this, I just want to trace it. Polyline is one of your tracing tools. So Polyline, I'm just going to go to the middle. And then what you probably want to do, I can see that my midpoint is slightly off here. So I kind of thought that was the case earlier too. So I'm going to move this over from the midpoint and then move it to like about right here. And that'll get me somewhere it feels like I'm in the right spot. And then you can just kind of use Polyline. And I'm just snapping here, going like this, and continuing to just build that out. You can also, I mean, I would say you could also go this way, but you want to make sure you stop here and go all the way through. Now, is that actually a straight line, and did I bend it or whatever? You know, for Polyline, it doesn't really matter. It could be a way to actually speed things up, but you know, I'm trying to be pretty like honest with this drawing and put them actually where they are. So I could keep doing that. That would give me a tree, and you can do that certainly if you like what you see. But I'm going to show you a couple of commands that are really important for digital drafting, and I think would also can still give you some character to the tree. So what we're going to do, we know what we kind of want. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off for a second so we can easily see what's going on. And I have this, this is all like kind of what's called a polar array. So we can array, I can array this line in a circle. I'm just going to type it in so it's easy to see. This is one of those I don't have a key command for. So array polar, I typed in polar just knowing I would get the command. The center of the polar array, right, is the midpoint or the center of the tree. And it's asking me automatically number of items. So I'm going to go ahead and go 6. This is not going to be what I actually do, but just to give you see how it works. So it's going to say I'm going to make 6 items, or I'm going to array 6 items along the center. And then my reference point, or sorry, my angle to fill. So this, how much of this angle do we fill? Because I'm coming from the center, if I filled 360 degrees, I would get things all over the top. I'm going to go ahead and just put 90 in as a reference so you can see what's going on. Hit 90. And so what's happened here is it's filled this, it's put 6 items in 90 degrees, and that includes the one we started with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's evenly distributed throughout that 90 degree angle, mathematically, precise. Now I haven't hit enter, so let's say I want to, I don't think this is enough, right, to create that tree. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 12. And well, obviously this is only half the tree, so I need to make it come all the way over to here. So I come back up to the command, and it says fill angle, which right now is 90. Fill angle, I'm going to do 180 and hit enter. And again, I still have, I'm still in the command, so even though I'm hitting enter, I'm not out of the command yet. And what you can see is it puts those 12 evenly along this, excuse me, 180. And it's also copying on top of what we already have. So we have an extra line here, which is not that big of a deal, just as long as you're aware of it. You could just erase it when you do it. But one thing, because I've seen this, I think, oh, well, maybe I'll make my fill angle 170. And so things aren't quite so balanced. And so this is going to create some spaces that are different sized throughout the array. And I'm going to go ahead and just accept this. I've got 12 distributed on a 170. It's creating a little bit of unbalanced in each side, and hit enter. Because this is pretty rigid still, it looks a little bit more like a sunburst or like some kind of wormhole or something. And not quite like the tree that we were looking for. You can see it's like a little too rigid. I'm going to go ahead and do array again. So polar array one more time, use the center. And this time, maybe I'll put, and this is something you may have to experiment with, I'm just going to go ahead and put 15 items. And I'm going to do it at, I'm just going to do 150 and see what happens here. And this really kind of creates a little bit of like what appears to be kind of randomness within the drawing. So I'll go ahead and enter here, and okay, it's not exactly this hand-drawn thing, but it gives us a bunch of lines, and if I wasn't talking about it and I was just doing it, it would happen actually quite fast. You've got a few overlaps, so it's kind of like, do you really want that? You can kind of go through here, edit some of these things out. I'm sort of also looking at this image and saying, oh, there's some big gaps in here, so I really like to just get rid of some of these. One thing to do is you can use your baseline as your trim. So I only trimmed it on one side. Maybe I'll create another big gap here, make another kind of gap here. And some of these you can just get rid of the whole line. You don't have to get rid of one half, but you can trim to create a little bit of variety. I don't know that I'm like 100% there right now, but at least I'm getting somewhat of a different thing. I think creating a little bit more randomness in here, but what we're missing is actually maybe what they did is put these thick lines, so a little bit different line types. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, I'm going to take this out too, is select a few of these lines that I know go all the way through, except for that one didn't. So let's do that one more time. And move them to the, normally I would put them on the branch layer, but I think for this one I want to put them on the center layer. I think that will be thicker. I'll make that one thicker, and then take the rest of them, and this is something, probably want to do this the opposite way that I'm doing it, but it works just the same. And then put this on the branch layer, and then the hope is that you'd get these be kind of thick and these will be a little bit thin, and you get that kind of variety that you'd be looking for. And so let's go ahead and group this, and then because I'm going to do something slightly, well, I'll just leave it there, it's fine. So that's a way to kind of use an image. Did I reproduce that tree exactly? No, I could have traced it, I guess. But some of these other ones are a little bit more complicated, may be good options to trace. I want to use, however, let's see, I want to use this tree again, but I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm just going to delete all this stuff and maybe go ahead and put it back on my working layer for now. And I'm going to make a little bit different type of tree, or it's definitely still theoretically a conifer, but it's going to be basically where we have these radiating lines, but they're only on the outside of the tree. They don't go all the way into the center. So let me show you how to do that real quick and just kind of follow along. I'm going to make a circle from the midpoint to the outside, and then I'm going to do another array. So it's already ready for me for the polar array. And again, the center, I'm going to make a bunch of these. So like, let's say 35 items, and I'm just going to go ahead and do 180. I'll just have to erase one of them, but I want this to be like really like rigid. And so we have a bunch of different lines that are going to define the edge of this vegetation. So I'll go ahead, enter. If you imagine this is your tree and you have all these lines, how just dark it gets in the center. This will get pretty dark, but it's not near as dark as having this many lines. So what I'm going to do is trim out all of these middle ones. So let's do a quick offset. So I'm going to offset, and we'll just try 6. And I look at that and I go, that's a little bit too big. I'm going to go back to 4, and I think I kind of like that. My tree will just be the outside of this. So go ahead and select that, and now I'm going to trim out, using this as my trim line. I'm going to trim out all of this center stuff, and then basically erase those. Theoretically, you could put a plus or a circle in here. I've seen it. I wouldn't put a circle probably, but you could put a plus. But this typically kind of stands on its own. I'm going to move this to its appropriate layer, which, because there are a lot of them, I'm going to make that the branching layer, so it's a little bit lighter. And then obviously this is one of those things you really almost have to group, or else you'll end up pulling a line somewhere randomly. And there probably are some lines overlapping here because I forgot to erase them, so you see that. I just suddenly remembered and clean that up. There shouldn't be anything else. None of these should be overlapping. So let's do that one more time. And then group and enter.